All right.
Okay, so we are live and welcome to Hangout number 4 for Manitoba. And we're here to talk about our triggering event, which is how would we define 21st century learning and how can we use the definition in our coaching work. And so we were talking about resources and what we found this week. So Anne, do you want to start or do you want to wait?
Yeah, I can start. I mean, I think looking at 21st century learning, I'm going to go back to the 4 C's, right? The creativity, help me out, communication, collaboration, one more. Critical thinking, thank you. So learning activities around the 4 C's, just because the 4 C's, that's what I think of when I think of the 21st century. And so what are the learning activities around those 4 the 4 C's? So around communication, what is that going to look like in 21st century? It looks like something like this. It's beyond just this sort of conversation, or it's beyond just side by side, talk with your shoulder partner conversation. It's talking with a classroom in Antarctica. It's talking with adult learners. It's talking with, it's using Padlet to communicate. It's using Google Classroom to communicate. Thinking of just other learning activities around those 4 areas. I'll think of more as I go.
As you go. What do you think, Katie?
I was thinking of I had this guy come in to talk to us about how a liberal arts education, why does that matter in like real world? And there's this kind of argument of, well, we teach our students how to think, not how to do things, and kind of like, and you can tell by my tone how I feel about that, but like just kind of that battle of, okay, what are the 21st century skills that we're trying to teach, except we're also a liberal arts education, and that comes with certain like expectations and certain like criteria of this is what we do and this is what we don't do. I've been looking at some different articles talking about how like the Amazon jobs and the Tableau jobs and all like those big like jobs, they're really relying on a lot of liberal arts students because they've been taught critical thinking skills, and usually where they're coming from has like a really strong integration of technology, where technology is used just to enhance assignments. And anyway, so I'm kind of just looking into like how those things translate, and more looking at like the dangers or whatever that triggering event was of if you have like the set definition regarding what a 21st century skill is, how does that fit in with the school's overall vision?
I think that brings up a great point to put labels. So you're defining a liberal arts education. So that means there's critical thinking. Yes, there's those skills, but then what are you saying that we're not teaching the technology? You're not teaching the science. Is that what he was assuming in that conversation?
Yeah, there's a lot of like putting labels on it and like kind of what's trendy in education versus what's like long lasting. And if you're putting labels on something, at some point they're going to come outdated because there's going to be the next movement,
Right. For example, the STEM movement. I think those are the skills we want for all of our students. The goals from the STEM education and the STEAM education, those are the goal. Those are everything. All the output is what we want from our students. But again, it's that labeling. But all the funding is there, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay, Lori.
So I was trying to find my document I don't know. I don't know where it went. My screen's still loading. But I went to the Future Ready conference the past 2 days, and one of the main things was talking about Future Ready, which is same as 21st century skills, more or less. And it went through the 4 Cs, and it also went through SAMR, and also went through TPAC, and had us comparing like how we thought we would use each as a coach, more or less, or also as a building administrator. And so the one that attracted me for sharing with teachers, of course, was the SAMR. But then I thought, how can the 4 Cs and that go together? So I went and did a little Google search during the summit, and there was a nice slide that showed how you could have kind of a planning of a lesson using both. So I was trying to bring that up, but basically it's just a light, frame or grid, and you have the lesson objective. And I also like that it didn't say lesson objective, it said activity. And at first I was kind of back and forth, but I realized that really, when we think about a SAMR lesson, sometimes are evaluating with one, we say, it's a lesson, but really the lesson should be differentiated. So there's a lot of activities. There's more to it than just a simple, straightforward lesson. But then within that, looking at what 4 Cs are being brought into each piece. So I'm still looking for it. I thought we had a shared doc of notes, and I'm wondering if my thing didn't get pasted in. It was loading slow, but it should have been right around the SAMR.
So can you tell me more about? Can you tell me more about what you were saying about activity versus lesson? The reason,
yeah. So to me, the lesson should be starting with the end in mind. But at the same time, I think when I talk about SAMR with teachers, I feel like I haven't done it that much in my district, but I kind of see like as sitting and evaluating with other folks, like it's like, oh, does it have a real world connection? Oh, check. Are they Skyping someone? Check. And they kind of like try and divvy it up to where it lands really quick like that versus going, okay, what critical thinking is there? I just think it could go deeper. And so rather than just kind of finding those check boxes, I like that this guy from the superintendent from California that was at our table, he was really focusing in that a lesson really has to be differentiated, and there should be multiple types of activities that lead to the same students demonstrating the same understanding. And now my battery's going to go low, so I'm going to climb under and plug it in for a second, but I'll be back up.
The reason why I asked that question is because I was having a discussion the other day with another instructional coach, and I was talking about some of the different activities, or I don't know what word I used, and she said, "Well, those are activities. What's the problem?" And basically, it was we need to have a problem for the students to find the solution. So then I was questioning myself, well, what's wrong with activities? And so I've really been like, are they not deep enough? Are they not, is there not enough critical thinking with activities?
I like your idea of the problem to solve, because that's what I don't know if you've read, whatever our chapter is, 6, is it we're on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's really what it gets to.
That there's a problem, we need to solve it.
Yeah.
Problem-based.
So I guess turning those activities into problems. Is that what you're suggesting? Yeah. Or I just need to...
Yeah, well, that around, I'm thinking, so around that problem, there's different, activities is kind of a light word, but there's different components involved in that. They might look different for certain students, but get to the same process and possibly different products.
Okay. Okay, that makes more sense to put it that the activities can be part of the problem solution.
Okay. Well, I think when you guys talk about the activities, I go back to the activity checklist that was in our chapter 6, because that helps me think more about, what are the students, what should they be doing, and checking those as I'm looking at the lesson. So I found that really helpful. I kind of, from my background, I kind of look at this in just a little different way. I think I gave you, is there only one resource there? There's two. Okay, these are a couple of resources that I've worked with in the past, and the reason why is because I'm a CTE teacher, and all of my lessons had to be integrated with 21st century skills. So everything that I did had to have some sort of a skill of problem solving and critical thinking, and how are we meeting those. And one of the ways that we did that is we used this P21 Partnership for 21st Century Learning website. And what we did was we looked at those for some resources for our lessons and for us, and it has a lot of those connections between the skills and life and career, which is the other part of the CTE. So when I started thinking about this in the 21st century, that's kind of where my mind just kind of went, because I'm used to doing that. I've written frameworks for 15 years that have these in them, and I've been doing, usually when our turn's up, I usually get to do like 8 classes or 9 classes, and they're usually like 40 pages or 50 pages long frameworks. And you have to define those 21st century skills, or you don't get your frameworks approved, which means your class you can't teach, you don't get your funding, and kind of goes down a little hole at that point. So when I started thinking about the question, that's kind of where I went. And, really how can I use those things that I know to incorporate into the coaching work, and kind of combine them with like the activity checklist from Les's book, and how are they common, what are some similarities in what I know.
This is a great resource. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love this. I think I've used that graphic on the main page. I've used that graphic several times. It's a good one, and there are some parent guides in here. There's other resources, but if you want to know what the state says that we need to have, that was the other one, and they have the skills for the future that need to be part of the framework, along with 7 million other things. So that was kind of my resource, what I'm going to be looking at, how I'm going to do those similarities. Any comments? Okay.
There's such great resources. I'm sorry, I'm going through them right now. This is just awesome. Just I'm curious which school is a list of there's an exemplar school in Washington. I don't want to know which one.
There is. I haven't looked at it.
Oh, Sammamish Senior High School in Bellevue.
Bellevue seems to have quite a lot of resources.
Not surprisingly, they had like a big Microsoft connection.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Unsurprisingly, non-surprisingly, unsurprisingly.
Yeah. Well, and Seattle Public Schools and Bellevue Public Schools collaborated on a computer science grant and got some money in association with Washington STEM. And so they've got a whole lot of support from a whole lot of areas. So.
I'm reading this rubric on the creativity and innovation, and it's kind of interesting to see that when in the regular classroom you don't really see rubrics about that.
Could you put the page on the chat?
Oh, yeah, it's actually it. Where'd it go? There's so many in the list here. Which one did I click on?
Hey, Lori, when you went to that conference, did you talk about PBL curriculum?
No, not really.
I was curious, is that just a big movement? And I wonder about the 21st century learning with that. Maybe that'll be my guiding question, something about PBL.
Are you guys going toward project?
Well, the Science TOSA a couple weeks ago led a training for people, and I attended the training, and I think that some teachers, and she's trying to encourage some teachers to go to do it, and so I went because I thought I could collaborate with maybe a department or an instructional coach at a school. We could work with the department. So it hasn't taken over, nor I'm not sure if it should. I don't know. I don't know enough about it yet to. I love that there's so much inquiry into it. I think could be potentially overwhelming for teachers but because there's so much planning to it, which is where I think I could come in to help with that. So anyway, it's just something I think I will. I think that'll be my question, something about that. So thank you for allowing me to talk that out.
I think one of the things too that we were looking at with project-based learning was actually collaborating with other teachers and making it more real life, or making other curriculum areas seem more real.
So kind of answering Anne's question about future ready, and the pledge is really what it was all about. And I'll put it in the chat and I'm going to glance through it, but it was kind of self-evaluation, but I don't remember. Well, I know PBL wasn't by name pushed. That sort of lessons and projects were, but I don't think they ever said PBL. So fostering a culture of digital learning, families transitioning to high-speed connectivity, professional learning opportunities for educators, universal access and quality devices, access to quality digital content, digital tools for families, mentoring other districts. So, yeah.
So is your district a future ready district?
We have signed the pledge, yes.
The pledge, okay.
We have signed the pledge. We have done the, it's a 3.5 hour self-assessment. We're a 7.1 out of 10 in readiness. According to their framework. And then it breaks it down by, I don't know, like 9 criteria or something. And our low one was personalized learning for students, but our high one was privacy and data and personalized professional development. But I don't think their questions were quite right for privacy and data. I think they needed a couple other questions like what we talked about last term about evaluating apps and websites and all of that. Because if it had asked me those questions, we would have been lower.
Oh, they call them gears.
Yes, the gears. There's lots of gears.
Lori, is that on the Office of Educational Technology, tech.ed.gov, Future Ready Pledge?
Yeah, they're partnered with them. They have a bunch of partners, but
can you go and see the questions, or do you have to sign the pledge and then answer the questions?
To get to the self-assessment.
Yes. Can you just?
Yes, you have to. And your superintendent has to sign the pledge.
I want to take a look at it and then say, look, look what we need to do.
So, but I could show you ours. And then what happens is after you turn it in, like 20 minutes later, it generates a report to your account. And then it breaks those down. And so it kind of was a rating scale. Like it would give you a topic under one of those gears, and then we're not ready to discuss this. We could have a good conversation, are not of interest to us. We're not quite ready. It would take us a lot to discuss this. We could have a brief conversation and probably, move forward quickly, or we're already there. There was a lot of that.
And where were you? Sorry.
Where was I?
Oh, that you're on your rating. Did you just say that?
Oh, we ended up 7.1 out of 10 combined. So our low one was personalized learning.
Mm-hmm.
So I found an assessment on their site.
Is it super long?
Yeah, it's 24 pages.
Okay, that's it.
Is that it? Yeah. Yeah, they have all of the questions on there, so you can take a look at it.
Put it in the chat.
Didn't I? I did.
Oh, okay, I see now.
Is it the dashboard? .futurereadies.org.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I want to do this.
Yeah. They have a digital tool though that lets you go through it, so it's a little more friendly than that. But
and I
yes.
suppose it does. It summarizes everything for all the teachers in the school in the district.
Yep.
There it is.
So for us, it just was confirmation, kind of where it did come out where we thought we were. We think it scored us a little higher in privacy and data, but overall, we were pretty strong in curriculum and instruction and assessment. And I mean, it made sense. The things that it said we should look at, like we really haven't invested any really money or efforts into personalizing.
That's a big task.
I'm not saying it's a good thing. It's just that's not kind of the vision at the moment.
Okay, so it's time. I think we all kind of know what direction we're going to go into. Any lasting words? No? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the broadcast.